If your partner likes pictures of other females or other people, regularly comments on their posts, chats with them in their DMs while they're sending semi-naked pictures to them, and he's hiding that, for me, that is pure cheating. Often we think that cheating is just physical cheating, but physical cheating is not the only form of infidelity. One of the most common forms of cheating is emotional cheating. And for some, emotional cheating can also be the most painful form of cheating.
Are you ready?
Welcome back, everyone, to my podcast, Red Flags, Green Flags, Modern Psychology for Everyday Drama. In this second episode of Dating and Relationships, I want to talk to you about a behavioral phenomenon that happens regularly across relationships, across cultures and countries, and has been around since antiquity, and that is cheating. So many people in relationships have experienced some sort of cheating or adultery in their lives. When we think about cheating or adultery, we often only think about physical cheating, secretly sleeping with another person without your partner knowing about it. But cheating doesn't only have to be physical, it can also happen in different ways. Also, many people don't think about the consequences of cheating, especially the impact it has on people surrounding yourself or other people, that 10 minutes of pleasure can have lasting negative effects, which can ruin not only your relationship, but also the lives of others and the people around them. Now, in today's podcast, I will share some personal stories from my followers from social media that have shared them with me today to kind of have this discussion about how cheating actually impacts you. Why do certain people cheat on other people? And I'm also here to answer questions that you've had about cheating in itself. What is cheating, for example, has been one of the questions that has come up. And also, I'll try to cover some of the startling statistics about how many people actually cheat who are in a relationship married. And if time permits, I'll also share with you who cheats more, men or women, and also I'll explain why. Everything you need to know about cheating. So grab a coffee or some tea, get comfy, and enjoy today's episode. So let's start with the basics. What is cheating? Well, according to Webster's dictionary, cheating is defined, or infidelity is defined, as the act of having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone other than one's husband, wife, or partner. Now, this doesn't only have to include having sex with someone, but it can also include kissing or cuddling very intimately with someone else who is not your partner. If you are in a monogamous relationship and you're being intimate with someone in a non-consensual way, then this is considered cheating. What's also very interesting to discuss about cheating is that not everyone chooses to be in a traditional monogamous relationship nowadays. People choose to be friends with benefits, or non-exclusive, as a lot of people like to call it, or want to be in an open relationship. And this is becoming extremely popular. And how does that impact what cheating means? With the rise of the internet and changing norms about love and monogamy, are making people consider alternative forms of relationships, where culturally possible, that are not as strict in terms of being just with one person. Ethical cheating, for example, has become a new trend in modern relationships where partners are open about who they sleep with while choosing to remain with their actual partner. What does cheating mean when you are in a non-exclusive relationship? I think this is a really interesting thing to think about. And do we still consider it cheating when we're not in an exclusive relationship? Or are there situations that could happen to which we could consider cheating even if we are in non-exclusive relationships? These are questions that I think we all need to think about, but I don't really think that we think about this on a daily basis. Now let's get back to what is cheating, right? Again, as I mentioned in the introduction, often we think that cheating is just physical cheating, but physical cheating is not the only form of infidelity. One of the most common forms of cheating is emotional cheating. And for some, emotional cheating can also be the most painful form of cheating. And I think if we go back to that Webster's dictionary description, it fails to define that emotional infidelity. So what is it? Emotional infidelity can happen when your partner develops a close emotional bond with someone outside of your relationship to an extent which undermines the trust and intimacy you have with each other. Developing feelings for someone else or sharing intimate or personal stuff with someone where you could have a potential romantic interest in, that could also be considered emotional cheating. What's interesting about emotional affairs is that it's not something that most courts would even consider adultery. So having a divorce on the basis of having an emotional affair is not that easy to do in many countries. So that's something to take into consideration. More people cheat emotionally than they actually cheat physically. Now, I want to share a story with you from an anonymous follower that I have who said the following: as a married person, I get attached to other people emotionally. I've cheated emotionally. No further explanation was provided in the DM that was sent to me. So what's very interesting here, this person did mention that they were in a long-term marriage. And so it can happen, right? That when we are together with someone for a long time, that we will not physically cheat with them, but we can develop feelings for people that we come across or engage with, and maybe have an emotional affair with them. And that can happen maybe multiple times across a marriage or a long-term relationship. And most partners will not talk about that. Why? Because there's no physical intimacy. It doesn't feel like a bad thing to do. And sometimes it can even feel like an escape. Not saying that it's a good thing to do, but a lot of people could consider that as an alternative, will actually physically cheat on another person. And again, this person's voice represents voices of many other people that have told me that I've had emotional affairs with other people around me, and I've never told my significant other about that. And when I ask them, how does it make you feel? And then one way they say, well, I needed this, or I felt that I was missing out on something, or I wasn't getting that attention from my partner. But because, I want to stay true to my vows and I don't want to hurt them, that I don't want to physically cheat on them. And so therefore, having that emotional affair with that other person kind of made me feel that I could fulfill that one need that I was missing out on, but at the same time not hurt my partner. So what's very interesting about emotional infidelity is that it happens more than we actually think it does. And at the same time, we often just kind of discount it, but it can be extremely painful for both men and women who experience emotional cheating. Now, with the rise of the internet, so this is another form of cheating as well. With the rise of the internet and social media and of course dating apps, now digital infidelity or cyber cheating has now become a big thing as well. So what is this? Before I get into the details of what this is, I want to share another story with you from someone who shared their personal perspective of this question, asking themselves, is this really cheating? Yes or no? This person said, "Good afternoon. I have a question for you for your podcast today. If your partner is messaging with other females, like liking their posts or social media and hiding it from you, when you intrude the phone to get the confirmation of your suspicions, he accuses you of being indecent. All of it is considered cheating, isn't it, Dr. Fennick?" In this case, I would have to say yes. But where are the lines? When is it cheating and when is it not cheating, for example? And I think when it comes to this kind of cyber cheating, it becomes very unclear. So let's dive first into what is cyber cheating. This kind of digital infidelity is when your partner engages in a cyber relationship with someone or sends, for example, romantic or sexual text messages or DMs to someone, often who they don't know, online. Nowadays, it's so easy to send someone a message. Like 30, 40 years ago, if you wanted to meet someone, we didn't have a mobile phone back then. You'd actually have to have a conversation with someone. Now, when you're bored, you just flip out your phone, switch on your app, and you can actually speak to a random person that you've never spoken to. And so that's basically what is facilitating this kind of digital infidelity. But when is it? This is the big question. When is it considered cheating? Digital infidelity can also be considered if your partner keeps contact with their exes or people who they know they could engage with in a sexual or romantic way again. So that is also another idea or form of digital infidelity. Now, again, it's really hard to decipher, liking someone's pictures. Is that cheating? Maybe it's just being friendly to another person. And for one person, their perception of cheating is so much different than someone else. But I've got a rule that I use to decide if digital infidelity is really cheating or not, or if your partner is really cheating online. And this rule is if your partner keeps his contact or her contact with another person a secret, for example, doesn't tell you about that specific contact, or uses fake names for people, or deletes messages from their text messages or their social media, then I actually consider this digital infidelity or cyber cheating. Now, I want to share a story with you. Another story that was sent through today when I asked people to give me stories or questions around cheating and infidelity. So a follow-up question from the same person who sent me the original question around what is kind of digital infidelity says the following: I believe that if you are in a relationship, there must be trust and there must be transparency. If your partner likes pictures of other females or other people, regularly comments on their posts, chats with them in their DMs while they're sending semi-naked pictures to them, and he's hiding that, for me, that is pure cheating. And based on my definition of what I said before as kind of like a guideline, if you do hide it and you're not open about things, even if you're just liking and sending messages to other people, then definitely you can consider that a form of digital infidelity or cyber cheating. So again, it brings us back to this question: what do you consider cheating, right? If you like someone's pictures on Facebook, is that a big issue? If you send someone, kind of text messages that you don't know, is that considered cheating? Again, everyone has a different perspective to what that is. And I think you need to sit down with your partner and have a good conversation on what you consider is cheating and what you consider is normal behavior, and where do you set the lines? Because in this cyberspace, things just become so unclear, right? It's such a gray area. And also it's so not clear what people's intentions actually are. Why do you like someone's pictures? Why do you send someone a DM? So have that conversation. That's what I can say to you all today. Have that conversation and know that once you do, you kind of set the lines clear. You make kind of that gray area much more clear so that you know what to expect from each other. If you don't have that conversation with each other, then it's easy maybe to perceive other people's behaviors as non-acceptable. But make sure that both parties know about that, because otherwise it remains unclear. And that's the unfortunate truth that we have today with the digital space, with digital apps, social media, but especially also dating sites. I actually consider digital infidelity as a form of emotional cheating. And so nowadays also with erotic games and VR and the rise of robots maybe in the future, this is only going to become more. So consider how you should deal with this in the future if this is something that you're dealing with right now. I think it's time to kind of talk about the impact of cheating. Like, what is the impact of cheating on people? And I think this is a really important conversation. Why? Because not only should you consider how it affects you as an individual, I think you should also think about, if you cheat on other people, what kind of impact it would have on them. We all know that being cheated on is a terrible experience. Let's be honest. Like, I've gone through that myself. I've had that experience, and it's not a great experience. Luckily, it hasn't happened that often in my life, but I think we can all kind of relate to that one way or another. And if we haven't gone through that, we know someone around us that has gone through that. Now, the fact that your partner has had sex with someone else is a very uncomfortable realization for many, not for everyone, but for many. Not only because it happened, but also because you are likely to question yourself about it. What's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Am I not good enough for you? So when someone actually cheats on you, you might even question yourself, and that might have huge consequences about how you value yourself, or even think about yourself moving forward, and even how willing are you to trust other people. The repercussions of infidelity go way beyond the deed itself. It can negatively impact your self-worth, as I just mentioned, but it can also destabilize your family, affect your desire to socialize with others, and in some settings and even cultures, impact your reputation. So why do people cheat, and what is to gain from being promiscuous? So the truth of the matter is, cheating is very common, and most of us will cheat one day in our lives or actually be cheated on. So let me share with you a story by a person that wanted her name to be mentioned, Vanilla. Vanilla said, being cheated on broke me in all ways possible. I questioned myself every single day. Why wasn't I enough? Why did he have to choose someone over me? Was it my fault? And I keep on getting triggers randomly out of nowhere, and I can't even cry the shit out of it, and it's just getting worse. This is a very elated statement. The fact that being cheated on is not so much that the deed actually happened. The impact that it can have on some people and certain people and on their self-worth and them questioning themselves doesn't go on for 10 minutes or 30 minutes of that pleasure that the person who cheated on you actually had with that other person. but those repercussions can go on for months and even years. To follow up, another person, Mary, asked me, how do you trust again after being cheated on? I have a friend going through this right now, and I'd like to ask for them. I think that's also a very important thing. After being cheated on yourself, how willing are you to trust other people? Especially if it has such a negative impact on your mental health, on your psychology, on the way you look at yourself, you might feel less willing to trust other people down the road. Or you might even be more vigilant and cautious about dating other people, even to the extent that you don't trust other people, that you even go out and check their phones and question if they're actually really being honest to you, which again could actually hurt your relationship even more, or new relationships down the road. So trusting is really, really hard. Once the trust is broken, it's really hard to rebuild that trust. So to answer this question, it takes time, right? And having a partner with you that is supportive of you, and if you can tell your partner of your experiences that you had in the past and maybe the trust issues that you have, or if that partner is supporting to you, that they will be willing to work with you on your trust issues. And I think that's the best way of how to deal with it, because again, working with trust issues could be extremely difficult. So let's get into the reasons why people cheat. Now, of course, you know, when I make my TikToks and I talk about cheating, or I make reels and I talk about cheating, or even when I'm writing my book now on red flags, green flags, you know, a lot of the people that I've spoken to do research, of course, my interactions with people, my one-to-one sessions with people, I've heard so many reasons why people believe that they're being cheated on. But what I wanted to do in today's session, and not often all of those reasons are correct, there are also many other reasons why people cheat, and that we just often don't think about. So I want to dive now into what are some of the reasons why people will consider to cheat on another person. One of the reasons that often comes up is, you know, people say, I've lost the passion. I've lost this kind of connection or emotional or sexual connection to my partner. I still love them a lot, but I just don't feel physically attracted to them anymore, or I don't feel that oomph when I'm together with them. And so losing the passion can be one reason why, you know, people decide to either cheat emotionally or cheat physically, for that matter of fact. Another reason why people cheat is when they have a lot of fights and a lot of arguments. And again, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm just giving you the reason why people cheat. But when people fight a lot and they have a lot of fights, people do tend to cheat on their partners. I actually want to share a story with you by one of my followers. His name is Steve. And Steve said to me, I started cheating because sexually I lost interest in my partner after being verbally abused. However, my feelings didn't allow me to let that go. I know I'm wrong by cheating, but feelings are so powerful and many times complicated and inexplicable. I just can't let go of it. And so basically what Steve is saying here is, again, this doesn't seem to be a one-off situation, which could also lead to cheating. But in this situation, it seems to be a repetitive behavior where the other person is feeling let down or hurt or abused, as Steve was saying. And so retaliation or revenge, in some cases, can also be another reason why people cheat on their partners. Again, not saying that it's a good thing, just explaining why people would cheat or the reasons that they give to their cheating behavior. Another reason why people cheat is due to feelings of insecurity and also low self-esteem. And therefore, cheating becomes a way for them to feel validated or even to boost their egos. Now, this is a very common thing for narcissists, because for narcissists, having low self-esteem is one of the common characteristics amongst narcissists. And so trying to fulfill or validate themselves by having sex with other people is a way for them basically to kind of fill their ego and feel good about themselves. What they're doing is they're trying to fill a void that is never going to ever be filled enough. So the moment that they feel triggered to eventually, when they want to feel validated or they feel that they're feeling insecure, that very often then, if cheating is the way that they can help them overcome that feeling, that's what they will do and continuously do so. So another reason why people cheat is because of one-off situations. You know, sometimes people travel somewhere and they happen to be in the lobby of a hotel and they bump into someone, they have a conversation, they start to get drunk, and maybe it happens. Again, it's not good that it happens, but one-off situations could also be another reason why people cheat. And it doesn't reflect their actual behavior, what they would do on a regular basis. But because of this perfect storm happening, that's also one of the reasons why they've decided then to do it, or the situation. I don't want to say that the situation made them do it, but it made it easier for them to choose to do it. Now, what's also very interesting, what a lot of people don't consider in relationships, is that especially in long-term relationships where people have been together for many years, is that for both men and women, their desires or sexual desires over time can change. Some people have different interests or develop new sexual desires that they previously did not have, or eventually feel that they're more open and willing to explore new things with their partner. And that can also be a reason why, if maybe the partner is not interested in it, for them to actually decide to be promiscuous or to try out those fantasies that they have or desires that have now developed, which they previously did not have. And so that's also a very common reason why people would decide to cheat. So now this brings me to a very interesting question, a question that I often get when I talk about this topic with people. Who cheat more, men or women? So I promised to give you the juice, and here it comes. So again, as I mentioned, this is a very popular question, and a question many studies are also trying to answer. So it's not just on my own opinion about this, but what also a lot of studies and a lot of trade papers have wanted to investigate and see if they could come up with an answer for this. Especially in today's world with, this changing gender norms and what, one would expect shifts to take place. And instinctively, you would say, yeah, come on, it's so clear, right? Men cheat more. It's in our DNA. However, remember what we said, there are various forms of cheating. And so cheating can happen at different stages of your life, and cheating can be more frequent in certain communities or other cultures than others. A more nuanced answer to this question is required before I can give you a really good answer to this one. So when it comes to physical cheating, let's start with that. It seems that men cheat more. Okay, and that's according to studies. According to the U.S. General Social Survey by the Institute for Family Studies, investigating infidelity amongst heterosexual married couples in the U.S., found that on average, 20% of men cheat physically. 20%. That's 1 out of every 5 couples. While for women, that number was 13%. Still 13%, but for men, it was 1 out of 5. Two interesting findings in their study are that married women in the age of the category, in the age category of 18 to 29, cheat slightly more than men do. I thought that was very interesting. So men in that age category, 18 to 29, about 10%, but women 11%. So that was very interesting. That's the only category, the age category, that women cheat more than men physically. And infidelity rates amongst men reaches its highest point between the ages of 70 to 79 years old. About 26%, according to their survey, of that age category of older men cheat frequently or cheat. So another very interesting statistic, according to the same survey, when it comes to emotional infidelity, the U.S. General Social Survey cites that women are more likely than men to cheat emotionally. Interestingly, women are more likely to be negatively impacted by emotional affairs than men. The opposite is true for men. So we already know that men, according to the statistics, cheat more physically than women do. But they also find that when women cheat physically, that they find that more impactful or hurtful than when they cheat emotionally. So it's interesting. When the things that we do ourselves, we find worse for the other person. So I have a contribution from one of my followers in terms of being cheated on and what her perspective was and how it affected her, or also what some of the reasons were why she was being cheated on.
Cheating. My now ex-husband cheated on me with a large group of Philippine women. He was cheating with them, sending inappropriate pictures and money, always online, as we live in Spain. According to him, I was overreacting and there was nothing wrong with it, making me feel I was the crazy one and he was the good guy, helping these women with money. 3 years after our divorce, I'm still in therapy, trying to figure out how to ever trust anyone again, including myself, for my bad choice of husband and father. We were married 25 years. and we have 2 sons.
So this is a very interesting case. They were married for such a long time, and Matilda basically heavily affected by being cheated on, and apparently her ex-husband, was getting in contact with people abroad, and was sending money, and after talking with her a bit, sending naked pictures or half naked pictures, and engaging in that way in a non-consensual way. And then when she addressed it, he was telling her that she was the problem. So again, it's a very complex situation because we don't know really what happened in this situation and why eventually he was doing that. And when I spoke to Matilda, she was telling me that initially he was such a great guy, but eventually he just kind of became very insecure about his own abilities and his abilities to take care of me and the family. And so what was very interesting here, she says he chose the easy way out. And without going into the reasons why he did it or what he did, but more in the sense of how he made her feel and the impact of the fact of he telling her, like, you're ridiculous, it's your fault, or completely ignoring her, and she having to go through that experience, that has a huge impact on her. Why is it so hard to trust? And especially when, it happens to you on a regular basis and it's your partner, and he or she is gaslighting you and making you to second guess or doubt yourself in your own reality, this can have tremendous impacts, right? It can have a tremendous impact on how you feel about yourself, but even afterwards, like even if you want to even still be with another person. And a lot of people nowadays are choosing not to be with another person because out of fear that, if my husband did this to me and I have kids with that person, or my wife did this to me, or my girlfriend or my boyfriend, whatever, that you'd think that more and more people would do that. So again, this just shows you that how impactful cheating can be, not just on the short term, but also on the long term. So let's dive into what are some of the red flags and what are some of the green flags in terms of cheating and long-term relationships, and what are some of the things that we have to watch out for, right? So red flags are those warning signs, and green flags are those indicators that your partner's doing the right thing for you or showing you that they're being the best person that they can be. And therefore also trust people. And I think that was the key takeaway from today. How can we make sure that we can trust people? So, and again, if we have these bad experiences, if we've been cheated on, we're probably less likely to trust other people. And so therefore we might only be wanting to look for the red flags, or only looking at red flags, or when we see red flags, just reacting to them in an irrational way, and then judging people for that one thing that they've done, and immediately see them in a negative light. So I guess what I want to talk about today is what are those red flags that we definitely have to watch out for? And also what are some of those green flags that are potential indicators of good behaviors that we can latch onto to help us kind of build that trust again, right? Because I think trust was the key theme from today's conversation. So the first red flag is, I would say, a change in routine. Okay, a change in routine. So if you start to see a change in routine in someone's pattern, how someone works, or maybe how, especially if you've been in a relationship for such a long time, you will quickly notice if people change their styles. They work much more later, much more longer. They stay away from you much more longer. Even change of routines in the bedroom, right? New movements in the bedroom. That's also a change of routine, could potentially indicate that your partner might be cheating on you. Now, of course, it's not a clear indicator, but it's definitely a red flag to take into consideration. And so being mindful of that, and then thinking about why is this change happening, what's happening to the other person, I think that is something to look out for. Again, it doesn't have to mean that they're actually cheating on you, but it's definitely an indicator of change in behavior, because we're creatures of habits. We like to do things routinely, and much of our behaviors are very automatic. So the moment that we intentionally make a change to our existing routines means that we're motivated to make that change. So changes in behaviors can definitely be a potential indicator that something might be going on. Think about it also in the perspective of interest, mood. Is your partner not paying attention to you anymore? Is talking more loudly? Is being ruder or getting more aggressive? If you see specific changes in your partner's behaviors, that's definitely an indicator that something is happening. Again, doesn't have to mean that your partner's cheating on you, but there is something happening in your relationship, and maybe it's time to kind of take a step back and start reflecting. Another clear red flag is when your partner is starting to become more secretive. So, they're having conversations with someone that you don't, they're taking the phone away, they're turning their phone upside down, they've changed their passwords on their phones or on their computers. When you start to see that your partner is becoming more secretive, I think that is also a red flag to watch out for and to see why they're behaving that way. Are they not sharing information with you anymore? Are they being secretive about who they spoke to? Those are definitely indicators that you should definitely watch out for and consider if something's going on. And again, if we don't trust people and we have that natural inclination to not want to trust people, then any slight behavior can be seen as secretive, maybe, if something's off. So do try to be mindful. Try to reflect, as much as possible on yourself and say, am I really being oversensitive right now, or is my partner's behavior really off at this stage, right? So be reflective as much as possible, especially if you've been hurt in the past. You might be much more sensitive to changes in your partner. But when people are being very secretive, that is definitely a red flag that you need to look into. Another red flag, I guess, to potentially indicate that someone might be, losing interest in you or might be cheating on you, is when they become distant from you. So, you might have relational problems, you might be fighting, and then eventually your partner starts to take distance from you. And again, taking distance is a very normal thing to do, especially if you don't want to get into too many confrontations. But really, when you feel that your partner is becoming emotionally distant from you, again, that doesn't have to mean immediately that someone else is cheating, but it could definitely mean that, they're not feeling attracted to you anymore. They don't want to be close to you. And if that continues, then cheating or being with another person, or maybe falling in love with another person, could actually happen. So those are this kind of, things that I would definitely think of and consider when you see your partner's, or you evaluate your partner's behavior. So taking distance is something that I do definitely think is a red flag. Again, it doesn't have to mean that they're cheating. It could also mean that, they're not happy with something with you. And that should be a moment of reflection again to say, well, hey, let's sit down together. Let's have a conversation. Let's try to figure out what's going on here, and don't try to make the problem even bigger or assume stuff. I guess communication is key in any kind of relationship. So communicate with each other, sit down and say, hey, honey, or love, or whoever you speak to, I just kind of noticed that we've been a bit distant with each other recently. I don't feel you like I used to. I feel you're not interested in what I have to say. I'm not really feeling the passion in bed again. Maybe it's me, I don't know, but I would really just love to sit down with you and talk about it. And anything that happens, it's okay. Remember, we're partners. We love each other. We've been together so long. Let's be open about this. Let's talk. I think that's a good approach. And again, it doesn't mean that your partner will. Let's also be mindful of that. Your partner might not want to talk about it, or might gaslight you and say, no, it's rubbish what you're talking about. That's just, completely bullshit. You're the person that's the issue, and it's not me, or, you're just imagining stuff. That is, in that sense, that's a red flag. If a partner does not want to sit with you and discuss, remember, problems can't always be resolved. Not every single problem, but at least we can learn from each other. And if your partner does not want to sit with you and learn from each other, even though you can't solve a problem, then it is an indicator that it's not a you problem, but more a them problem or a they problem. So that's something that I definitely would say be mindful of, distance and paying attention to that. So let's talk about some of the green flags. And again, the stories that we heard today, and, trust being a very big thing for a lot of people, not only for people that have had great relationships, but just also for people that have had some bad past experiences. In today's dating world, let's be honest, right? Toxicity seems to be the currency of the dating world. But so how do we move on, and how do we say, well, look, I'm ready to start dating someone, and I really want to like this person. I really want to see the good side of them. What are some of the things that we can then start to evaluate and say, hey, that's a green flag. That's something that we need to pay attention to. Well, one of the first green flags, I think, is, and this kind of brings us back to what we said before, is communication. Can we communicate with each other? Can we have that conversation and sit down and be frank and open with each other? And, preferences and desires, sexual desires change. And maybe you want to explore that option with your partner. But are you able to communicate that to your partner? And even if your partner is not okay with that, that's still okay, because you have to have that conversation. Cheating or going around your partner's back is not the right thing to do. But if your partner can come to you and say, look, I've been thinking about our relationship recently, and I feel that some things inside of me have changed. Not my love for you, but personally my interest in other people has developed or evolved, or I'm thinking about maybe opening up our relationship because I'd love to explore this relationship with you, and I don't want to lose you. You're better having that than having someone who doesn't say anything to you and cheats behind your back. At least that gives you the opportunity to have that conversation with your partner and say, look, I really respect the fact that you've told me that and that you're open about that. And I'm not okay with it, but I'm going to tell you why that I'm not okay with it. And then you can find a way to deal with that. Maybe you take a break from each other. That's also another solution. But at least you have that conversation to find a potential resolution that you both feel good with. Maybe, you know what? You're thinking, I think that's pretty interesting. I was also thinking about spicing up my life with you. I didn't think about having this conversation, but the fact that you did, I'm happy to have that conversation with you, and let's explore that. But let me be honest. I mean, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you that I don't like it. So communication is key. 101, communication is so important. Definitely a green flag in terms of long-term relational success. Number two, your ability to resolve conflict, I think, is extremely important. And I think that's also a green flag. And remember, when we fall in love with someone, again, talking about dating, we tend to see the great things about them. Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so nice, I love everything about you. And, everything is so rainbow colorish, or everything is so pink colorish, because life just looks so good to you. But we also need to take into consideration, when you actually fall in love with someone, you also fall in love with those aspects of them that they still need to further grow upon or develop, or their childhood trauma or other experiences that they had in their lives, and which makes them respond in a not so great way. So remember that with every person you bring on board that you actually commit to or have a relationship with, you bring both the good side as well as the bad side. And you as well. You also bring that to the other person. And so how do you respond in a certain situation? Or, how do you deal with difficult situations? In some circumstances, you might be really great, but in some circumstances, your partner or a certain situation might trigger you or trigger past traumas inside of you. And your ability to deal with that in a relationship is extremely important. And so if you can say to each other, we're here to be for each other, we're here to grow together, but we're also here to help us heal, I think that's also a really, really healthy way to work with each other in relationships, and to know that the other person has that ability to deal with conflict effectively. So what are some examples of how to deal with conflict effectively? Being able to know, to identify when you get heated or when you get triggered. And if you are someone who's very emotional, that you can say, okay, you know what? I think I need to walk away for a moment. And I need to kind of give myself some space, and I'll come back and we'll sit together and I'll explain things to you, and let's diffuse the emotion, and let's kind of bring it to the level of assumptions and discuss what's really going on here. I think that's a really good skill set of being able to deal effectively with conflict. Another great style, another example of good conflict management resolution is your ability to, have an open discussion, tell the other person what you don't agree with, Also be candid about what you want and what you dislike, and to also say that to yourself, that we're having this conflict because we don't want to fight with each other, but we want to find a way to grow together. So conflict doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Actually, conflict can be an amazing opportunity to learn more about each other and to get better with each other. So if you see conflict as a learning opportunity, I think that's an amazing green flag, and is also an amazing skill set to have in terms of conflict resolution. So that's what I think that second green flag is, being able to deal with conflict effectively. The third green flag, I would say, is being supportive. Being supportive and empathetic. So being able to read your partner, and if you see that your partner has trust issues, that you can, as a partner, can say to the other person, hey, I can see that, maybe you don't want to go out too much and you'd rather stay in and spend more time together that way. And I've noticed that behavior in you a couple of times, and your suggestions and what you've been asking for, and also what you don't like to do. Can you maybe just tell me why that is? And could you share with me why you feel that way? So being able to read the other person, communicate to them what you see, what you hear, what you feel. And that is something that can show your partner, wow, you're really listening to me. You really feel me. And you want to support me. And part of building trust is having positive exchanges with the other person. And then them reciprocating to you. And then saying, wow, my partner really trusts me. This person is definitely someone different than I had in the past. I need to give my partner the chance, because I see that he or she is really showing that empathetic side and supportive side. I need to reciprocate, right? And I think seeing that and also reciprocating to your partner in that perspective, when you do see that they are supportive and empathetic, is definitely also a green flag. It's good for relationships, but being able to find that in your partner, super important, right? So definitely a green flag. So those were some green flags and red flags. I could go on for ages about green flags and red flags, especially when it comes to cheating and relationship and dating. So yeah, my book is coming out at the beginning of next year. And of course, these podcasts are here to kind of facilitate those insights and, bring more voices of my followers and more of my insights and experiences into the table to kind of to discuss these topics that are often just kind of taken for granted, or very hard to kind of think of when we're actually in that moment of experiencing, in this case, cheating. So hopefully this podcast today was able to give you a broader perspective to what cheating is and what different forms are of cheating and the impact that cheating can have on you. But hopefully today's insights can help you to reflect on yourself and how you evaluate other people, and also how you can start trusting other people more, even if you've been in bad relationships in the past. It's hard to trust. You know what they say, it takes years to build trust, and it can take a second to break it. But I hope that today's conversation, for those people who are listening that have been cheated on, that you feel slightly more confident today to rethink about being with someone, and also to look at their good sides, try to look for their green flags. And for those people that cheat or have cheated or plan to cheat, maybe even after listening, not after listening this, but are planning to cheat because they were planning to do something today or tomorrow, just think about the consequences that cheating has. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of pleasure might not be worth the pain that you will have, the pain you will cause the other person and the people surrounding them as well. So thanks for listening and tuning in today, and definitely stay tuned for more podcasts on relationships and dating, and of course, red flags and green flags. And I also like to say to those people who are not following me yet on Instagram or on TikTok, my Instagram reel is Modern.Day.Psychologist, so Modern.Day.Psychologist or Dr. Ali Fennick. And on TikTok, I am also Modern.Day.Psychologist or Dr. TikTok. And if you'd like to be featured in one of my next episodes, or please do pay attention to the prompts that I send out through my stories, because I'd love to hear from you and embed your stories into my podcast so we can reflect more on your own personal experiences moving forward. Thank you so much again, and tune in for my next podcast coming soon.
Are you ready?